Hello and salam. Welcome to Muslim Viewpoint, a new podcast series powered by American Muslim Today, a groundbreaking non-profit digital newspaper which champions civic engagement. AMT informs and empowers the diverse voices of almost 30 million Muslims living here in the US and other Western countries. I'm Rifat Malik, I'm AMT's editor-in-chief, and today we have an interview with three men who've combined Texas barbecue and traditional halal dishes to create a unique array of spices. With growing media coverage, they're also gaining a rapid community-wide following. All three, who moonlight as doctors and professional recruiters, spoke to our reporter Maya Geller.
So I wanted to start with some background stuff. So if you could tell me about like your day-to-day job. Yeah.
So I am a doctor. I'm an endocrinologist. So mostly I deal with people with diabetes or very high cholesterol. And I work at an academic institution, so I do research as well, and I teach in addition to seeing patients. So that's kind of my day-to-day. Every day is different, but that's in a nutshell my daytime job. Yeah.
And Rehan, can you tell me about your day-to-day job?
So I run a staffing company. I'm the COO, founder and COO of the company, and essentially we're like a temp staffing agency where we have people in 46 different states working for us for different clients, Fortune 1000 clients generally.
Yeah, so I'm Nick Guy. I'm also a physician here in the Dallas area. So.
Okay, awesome. And then, so how do you three know each other?
Just socially, I guess we first met. Muslim community in Dallas. You just meet at davats and parties and things like that.
Yeah, so what made you three want to partner together to start this line of halal spices?
Well, there's a whole backstory if you want to hear it.
Yes, of course.
Well, we kind of started, and this is published in other places too, but we kind of started doing competitions. We would compete amongst ourselves, and then we started competing in external, non-Muslim competitions and winning them. And out of that, the spice mix idea came out because, our flavors are unique. They're kind of a mix of our first and second cultures. I call it third culture barbecue, but they're kind of mix of things, and so that was the three of us were kind of the leaders of the pack, I guess. We were the ones that are kind of doing the work in the competitions and doing stuff. So it was just natural for us to work together. Nagai, Rehan, do you have a different recollection?
No, I mean that's kind of that sums it up pretty good. I think with the social media and the WhatsApp group, I mean, it was the three of us that were. I mean, Zahid has always kind of maintained the most involvement, but I think the others of us did as well in the early days when it was still kind of a smaller community, and so kind of that's kind of what.
It really started off as a kind of a group who got together to do a brisket competition and then it kind of expanded to WhatsApp groups, which grew actually now globally.
So what made you stick to specifically spices?
Yeah, that's a good question. We thought about a few different things. Like we could have opened a restaurant or a food truck or something like that, or there's plenty of options, but the three of us have full-time jobs, as we told you, and they're good jobs. We like our jobs. None of us want to stop working. So we had to think of something we could do that would, fit in with our busy lifestyles, something kind of low-key, something where we didn't have to spend a lot of time away from our families and stuff like that. So essentially very much a side hustle.
Yeah, and I think the simplicity of spices in terms of recipes, in terms of preparation and handling, works out better. And honestly, that's what we were doing anyway. I mean, for all of our barbecue, it was, buy this spice rub off the shelf, buy this one. Hey, have you tried this? And that's kind of how majority of our barbecue, I think, already was. So it just kind of fell into line that, hey, let's make our own. And it's going to be a dry spice mix like everybody else. We weren't heavy on sauces at the time. And I'm still not heavy on sauces. So for me to do a sauce was a little more kind of, new versus I think a dry spice rub just made more sense.
So can you tell me about the specific spices? What are the flavors? Are they, as you said, traditional? Are they more updated?
Zaid, you can start with Texas tandoori.
Yeah, Maya, I like your word updated. That's a good way to describe them in a sense. Yeah. So our first spice mix that we made was Texas tandoori. We came up with the spices for a competition, which we came in first place for, and it took a year actually of us tinkering, mostly in my kitchen, with the spice mixes until we got it exactly where we wanted it to be. And we wanted it to be very simple because for a competition, we can't sit around messing with yogurt, large batches of yogurt to serve 500 people. We can't do that. We needed something we could just apply to the meat and grill it. And so that was kind of the way we tested it and the way it worked out. And so, yes, I would say it's maybe an updated tandoori mix compared to everything else in the market. It has a little bit more pop of flavor, which probably people are used to now. In the past, when we would make, our parents' generation, when they make a dish, the flavors kind of all meld together. But when you have our spice mixes, you have different tastes in your mouth. You have kind of, phases of different flavors. And so that's kind of how we were thinking about it. That's the first one. The second one was sumac black, which Nagai came up with.
So that one has a little bit of activated charcoal in it, and that gives you the black color and a really nice kind of texture and crust on beef. And so for red meat, it's a very good one. And the primary flavor is sumac. And so again, pulling from Mediterranean flavors and kind of incorporating them into dry rubs and mixes and flavors that most people may or may not have necessarily come across in such a convenient fashion. I think that was part of it. The next one was SPGC, right?
Yeah, I think that or
was it
or Terry Perry?
Terry Perry.
Remember. I think they were kind of simultaneous, but Terry Perry was SPGC is basically salt, pepper, garlic. But the way we do it is we grind the coarseness of the salt and pepper are important to us, and the garlic. So we have it a slightly coarser grind, which we haven't found anywhere else. And some people like it, some people don't, but most people seem to like what we've done with it. And it's got a little bit of chili in there too. And then the second one, Terry Perry, was basically something that I think I'd experimented on and made at home, which involved peri peri seasoning, which is this South African kind of Portuguese influenced seasoning. I combined it with like teriyaki seasoning. So we've made that into a rub and calling it Terry Perry. So it's kind of Asian, South African, Portuguese mixture. I don't know how we described it, but kind of a merge between those three different flavors, and it came out pretty good. And then we came up with what was the last one?
Monday was next, yeah.
Which is more of a Middle Eastern, almost Indian kind of rub, which Monday is actually a very typical Middle Eastern dish, but this was kind of an Indo-Pak version of it. So it's got some of the interesting flavors like garam masala and all that, but it was something different too, and works well with beef, lamb, and pretty much anything else too. So the rubs we have currently, we're working on some more, which we have.
There's one more, hot fries, right?
Oh, sorry, hot fries, yes.
So hot fries, the story of hot fries is mostly from me and my one of my kids who's super addicted to flaming hot Cheetos and the other chips similar to that are called hot fries. And to get her kind of off of those, I used all natural ingredients to mimic the flavor. It's not exactly the same because, you know, flaming hot Cheetos has all these chemicals in it I can't really replicate, but it's actually pretty close when tasted raw. When you cook it, the flavor changes a little bit, but it's still a lot of umami, a lot of flavor, some spice. You can kind of still tell that it's inspired by flaming hot Cheetos, and it has a really nice red color. But that one, you know, just kind of came out of my desperation to get my daughter off of flaming hot Cheetos. Yeah.
That's very funny. I feel like as a native Texan and a Hispanic, like that's yeah. I can eat a whole bag of hot Cheetos.
Yeah, or the other ones are like Takis, and there's several of them that I try to kind of mimic the flavor of it.
Yeah, that's funny. So it sounds like you guys have a lot of passion for cooking. Can you tell me more about that, and then specifically about the recipes that are on your website?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rehan. Go ahead.
I think we all three of us have a different kind of level of passion, a different passion for cooking. I think I'm definitely into the Indo-Pac style cooking. I like that, but I also obviously like barbecue. So, but I'm up for cooking anything, and I like I cook a ramen that takes overnight. It takes to cook the broth. So I like to take my time, and for me, it's the journey is the destination as well. So I really do spend a lot of time researching and making sure I've got the right ingredients, fresh ingredients, and all that kind of stuff to make whatever I'm making. And I do go above and beyond, I think, to create a dish that I think it makes, even if it's like a 2% differential on taste, I think it's worth it to spend an extra hour on it. So I'm a bit extreme when it comes to that, but that's me when it comes to cooking. But Zahid?
I kind of take the other end, where for me cooking is, I enjoy the eating, so the cooking part of it, I keep it very simple, and I look for rubs and flavors and everything where I can just, for me, the whole idea of our rubs, where you can just put it on the meat, you can put it on heat and fire, and whether it be a grill or the oven, or saute it, and you're done, and you don't have to overthink it. You don't have to do it, and you don't have to. You can add to it and make it more complex and more unique, but you can just leave it alone. And that's how I've always been. Is I want to decide now. I want to make something within half an hour. I want to be able to eat it. So what's the easiest way for me to get from here to there? And that's kind of my take on it and how I do things. So Rehan will plan, tonight what he is going to eat for Sunday, versus I will plan Sunday afternoon what I'm having for dinner on Sunday. So
yeah, then I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm the Goldilocks. To me, the most important thing is just that it tastes good and people actually eat it. If nobody eats it, then it doesn't matter if you spend a lot of time or a little bit of time. And so I kind of focus on recipes that I think my family will eat. But I've been grilling since I was 9-10 years old, because my mom used to love to grill with charcoal or gas. She would cheapo. We didn't have a lot of money, so I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that, but we had plenty. We lived comfortably, but we just had cheapo grills. And but she would do it. I mean, she would skewer the meat, she'd grill it, she'd do everything. I did it with her, and she was the first pitmaster I knew. And then as I got older, as I moved to Dallas about 20 years ago, and so got exposed to things like brisket and whatnot, and eventually learned how to make it myself. And that's one way that the three of us actually bonded, is talking about brisket all the time.
Yeah, and then so how were those recipes developed? And why did you choose those specifically?
A lot of trial and error. A lot of things that we would see, or some of them were, okay, here's your classic recipe, how do you simplify it? Or here's your classic recipe, and how do you add a twist to it and make it a little bit more unique? And I think a lot of things were just a matter of techniques. Some of these recipes are techniques. For example, the big green egg that we use, most people open the dome and put the meat on the grate, kind of like a traditional grill, versus for us, it was converting it more into a tandoori style, cooking device, and we would drop the food down the top. So some of it was not even necessarily the recipe, but just modifying the techniques of, how else can we do this to get similar results.
The other part is we kind of learned from each other what recipes we already knew that we were very good at. We would teach each other. Like I learned how to make ramen from Rehan, and I learned how to just put spices on meat and just grill it really quickly from the guy. And then when we had competitions, actually the people who would win, I would always ask them, "Can you share your recipes with us?" So a lot of our recipes come from there. They come from people who have won or participated in different competitions. And then more recently, the recipes kind of come from our spice mixes. Because when people buy them, they want to know how they can use them, and we have to have some things for them to do. So we have at least one or two recipes for each of our spice mixes. Some have more, some have less, but that's kind of so now when we make recipes, we're thinking of how we can use our spice mixes in some creative way, or some way that would save people time and effort.
So how do you guys plan on expanding, if all, into more spices, more recipe type stuff? Yeah.
I think we always are thinking about new flavors to add, right? And because there's so many flavors that are still out there that you can bring into the community and let them taste and let them explore. So we're looking at new flavors and new spices to bring in. It's a lot of time spent in R&D, and so I think that's always kind of one of our objectives. Is we've got the ones that we have now, but I don't think any of us are willing to say this is it. Don't expect anything more. I think we all have more to bring to the community, the barbecue community.
Yeah, so I think I suspect that next year you'll see us come out with several more spice mixes, because that's half the fun of doing all this, is coming up with these new creative spices that don't exist already and that people internationally then use, which is really amazing to see. I don't know if you saw, but Texas Tandoori was actually listed in the Texas Monthly magazine as one of the 10 new spice mixes to try. That I think that article just came out a few days ago. So we like that, because we just started from just friends, and now we have things on the market, things in magazines, and I'm sure you saw a Dallas Morning News article about us and stuff. So, and people from American Muslim Today are interviewing us. It's you get pretty far, I guess, when you just put your mind to something and try.
I think the level of exposure we've received from multiple angles is not something we were expecting.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, thank you for joining us this week from me and Maya. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at American Muslim Today. And if you'd like to read more about this story and access more digital content, feel free to check out our website, AmericanMuslimToday.com. We'll see you next week on The Muslim Viewpoint.